Just when we were out on the Cincinnati Reds playoffs, they sucked us back in. The Cincinnati Reds decided to quote the great Lee Corso and say, "Not so fast, my friend. We're talking Reds playoff possibilities on today's Locked On Reds."
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff, his name is Steve, and we are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We've been podcasting about this team for a combined 14 seasons, and we're glad that you're alongside us here today. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Reds, every single day. And on today's podcast, the Reds have another must-win series. They're all must-win at this point, but a must-win series in Sacramento. Yeah, we said it, Sacramento, against the Sacramento A's. We'll tell you why they match up well, which is always a bad thing when it comes to this Reds team. We'll tell you why they match up well coming up later on today's podcast. In a few minutes, we're going to answer whether or not Tony Santillan is the closer for your 2026 Cincinnati Reds based on his performances this year, and look at some other bullpen happenings and goings on as Chase Burns returns to the pen. But we'll begin with the high hopes that the Reds are giving us once again, because we can't quit them, because they won't let us quit them, because they keep on hanging on. That's on today's Locked On Reds podcast that is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit 5hewin.com for rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. All right, Steve, we're back, baby. I mean, they kind of left. They never left. They didn't leave. They're not in it yet, but they're like that guy in the race that's getting real close, and you can see them overtaking the New York Mets. They're only 2 games back.
You know, it's like every great meme that we love applies to what's going on with the Cincinnati Reds right now. You can go tell the others we're back up, baby. When we were out, they've pulled us back in. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, Tim and I, when you were away on vacation, you know, sipping mimosas or whatever it was you were doing, we pronounced the season over. We called it. We gave last rites on the Reds playoff possibilities. Yeah. And I think, you know, in typical Locked On Reds fashion, you know, we said a thing, so they went and did the opposite of it. And they're right back in it. As we record right now, they are 2.5 games back. The Mets have not played today as we're recording. So the Reds could enter this series with the A's either a 1.5 to 2.5 back. And you're absolutely right. This is for the Reds. Every series moving forward from right now, they are in the playoffs already. This is playoff baseball for these Cincinnati Reds. And they find themselves in a series where the pitching matchups favor them. The opportunity to overtake the Mets favor them because of what the Mets have going on. You know, the Phillies have pretty beat up on them, and they're going home to play a super, super hot Texas Rangers team that should help the Reds out along the way as well. This everything's lining up for this team to be on brand for the thing we have described them as all season long, Jeff, which is they're going to do what we ask them to do, and they've done it the most frustrating way possible.
They're frustratingly fun. They continue to be that way, and they've done it. The series win that they got in San Diego was something they haven't done with regularity this year, and they did it in back-to-back nights, and that was just hold on. They had a late game comeback. They got a lead, but they were on the road, so the final at-bat went to their opponent, and they held on during that final at bat. I do want to make like specific mention of the performance of Andrew Abbott, though, because we've been worried about him. His last couple of starts leading into San Diego had been lackluster, and we were starting to say, all right, he's doing that thing where he just runs out of gas at the end of the year. Well, if you're running out of gas at the end of the year, how do you describe 8 innings of 1-run ball? That was a beautiful performance by him, and it wasn't perfect. He had base runners on multiple different times. He gave up a home run, was working around trouble, but he never seemed to waver, and he did it in a pitch efficient fashion. I mean, he entered the 8th inning with only 88 pitches. There was a key that I was like, he has to pitch the 8th, and there was part of me that wondered if they brought him back out for the 9th, but obviously Terry Francona made the right decision because Tony Santillan did that thing, and we're going to talk about him a lot more here in a little bit. But I was really happy with that pitching performance from Andrew Abbott, being able to hang on when he got no run support from his team for pretty much the entire game.
Yeah, he was looking like Andrew Abbott at the end of last season, where his legs were gone, he was tired, and you could just tell he didn't really have it anymore. And he definitely gutted out that start at a time where the Reds really, really needed him to do it. That's exactly what this Reds bullpen needed. That's exactly what this rotation needed. And it really put the Reds in a position to win. And I want to shout out my guy, Ty Steve, coming back into this lineup. If not for a absolutely unbelievable Fernando Tatis catch, he has 2 home runs in that game. I mean, he is absolutely unloading on the baseball out in San Diego. That's not necessarily profiling as a power hitter's park. Petco doesn't, scream Great American Ballpark vibes. You have to work at it a little bit out there in San Diego. And Ty Steve was just absolutely ripping the ball. And what better time for him to come back healthy and add some pop to this lineup. Now, Tyler Stephenson is not going to be a 40 home run guy this year, but he is in a position to hit a few bombs and put a lot of long gap doubles out there and help drive this Reds offense. I think it's the perfect time to get Ty Steve back in this lineup and help kind of drive the engine.
Who was it? There's an everydayer that's been keeping track of it since you made that prediction, that he's almost up to 40 since you made the prediction a couple of years ago.
I think he crossed it. I think he's crossed it.
Did he cross it? Okay.
I think he did.
So, you mentioned that it was that season. It's just, it took him a little bit longer to get there. No, I'm with you. I was happy seeing him. And even on a game where the Reds lineup did not provide the kind of run support that you were hoping they would for Andrew Abbott, they still got the runs that they needed in the 8th inning, thanks to some clutch hitting, some good at bats, long at bats from TJ Friedl, Ellie De La Cruz coming up with a clutch hit, and then coming around to score. I love the way that they were able to grit out that win, and that's where the hope comes from, right? The grit of this team. I don't think that's ever been questioned this season. We've never really watched a game and been like, boy, they just didn't care about that one game. Now, there's been games where they've been overmatched. There's been games where they've shot themselves in the foot, but that's not been for lack of fight. They've had fight all year long, and if they can combine clean baseball with the fight that they have, they've really got a shot in this. And that's why they are so frustratingly fun, is because they're fun with their ability to win and play the game of baseball. They're frustrating because they tend to be their worst enemy at most of the time. And for anybody that is a naysayer right now, I don't have a great argument as to why you should stop being negative about this team. But there's plenty of reasons to remain optimistic that with 2 games back of the wild card and 16 to play and the remaining schedule for this Reds team, and considering some of the situations they're about to head into, man, this could happen. This could happen.
I think you're right. It's very interesting that if you're in right now on the Reds playoff possibilities, if you're out right now on the Reds playoff possibilities, it's really hard to have an argument to win over the other side. Like, all of the reasons to be in on this team are really good reasons, and all of the reasons to be out on this team are really good reasons. So, what I hope is that they take these next 2 series, go 4-2, 5-1, and then everybody's on board with a Reds playoff chase. One more thing from that series out in San Diego, Jeff. I don't know if you saw this, but did you see the overhead angle of TJ Friedl's slide into home plate? It's just a thing of beauty. It is one of the prettiest plays of the year. It could not have been better. It should be, hang it up in the Louvre, get a picture of it. It was baseball perfection.
And I think there was part of that was him acknowledging, like, I'm making up for that catch that I didn't make the other night. And we criticized him for not making that catch. But to be honest with you, he had an amazing series at the plate. He had a home run. He had multiple hits. He was on base tons of times. And he continues to be, I think it's 3rd in all of Major League Baseball as far as leadoff hitters getting on base, the number of times they've done that. It's Shohei Ohtani, it's dude from Arizona, Perdomo, and it's him. the three guys in the major leagues as far as getting on base. And I'm very happy to see that he just continues to be that consistent dude for the guy for the Reds. They're at the top of the lineup.
Yeah, he's a reason to be excited. Everything we've talked about are reasons to be excited. You know, another reason to be excited, Jeff, is what Tony Santillan has been doing lately. He came into this game in the 9th inning, nailed it down after giving up a double, and brought the energy to the 9th inning. And it makes us wonder, is Tony Santillan auditioning already to be the closer for the Reds in 2026? We're going to talk about that coming up next. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of the golf course to a non-alcoholic boost. It's perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course and just need a little extra push to power through your day, or you're in the office, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without the need to leave the green or chase the bev cart. Golf is all about good times with great people and great flavors. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course, or again, without having to chase that bev cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf course in the United States. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. It ends on October 31st, 2025.
We got football. We got baseball in the stretch run. We got college football going on. So much to get into over at FanDuel, and they got a great deal for you right now. If you create your account, your brand new user to FanDuel, put your $5 bet in and you win, you get $300 in bonus bets. That's right. I said $300 for your first $5 winning bet. And I'm looking tonight. We got the Reds off, so we're looking at the Mets and the Phillies because the Phillies have been beating up on the Metropolitans right now, and they got David Peterson going on the mound against Jesus Luzardo for the Phillies. Phillies are actually favored in this. I know there's a lot of really difficult 4-game series to sweep, but the Phillies are on deck with it right now, and the Phillies are minus 130 on the money line. I think I'm going to sprinkle on that, see if the Reds can get to 1.5 games back of the wild card. Take the Phillies minus 130 over on FanDuel. And for your first winning $5 bet, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. Head on over to FanDuel right now.
Make sure you click that subscribe button. Make sure you click that notification bell. That way you get all of the great Reds content we've got coming your way. You get Jeff and I 5 days a week here on the Locked On Reds podcast. You're going to get Tim Daniel after each and every Reds game, whether it starts at midnight Eastern time or not. He will be there live with the Reds postcast. So make sure you click those buttons right now. You're going to get everything we got coming your way and any other surprises we drop in along the way as well. All right, Jeff, let's get back into this because Tony Santillan has been good all year long. He's been good in a lot more games, I think, than we would have liked to have seen him pitch thus far. But he's rising to the occasion. He's making the most of these opportunities. And with Emilio Pagan being a free agent at the end of the year, it makes us wonder a little bit now, is he kind of auditioning as we get to the end of the year to be the closer of this team in 2026?
There's a lot of different factors that go into this because I don't think Emilio Pagan returns. He's going to garner way too much money in free agency. Yep. And I wonder a little bit about how much the Reds will commit to a top-end bullpen arm. Well, because Nick Krall, to this point in his tenure heading up this front office, has always favored quantity over quality. We've not seen him go for that big-time dude at any position. So I wonder a little bit if the Reds go for a guy that pushes Tony Santillan out of the closer role. That's where I start with this. The other part of this is, has he earned it? And I think it's unequivocally yes. He has had an amazing season. I mean, the 72 appearances lead Major League Baseball. Nobody else has pitched more games than Tony Santillan has. And during that time frame, he's been phenomenal. His whip is just 1.1. You would like to see it be a little bit lower, but that's barely a base runner per inning. And on top of that, he's averaging a strikeout per inning. So for everybody who gets on base, he gets a strikeout. And he's been that kind of guy that you bring him in a spot where you're like, man, are we really going to be able to get out of this jam? When you look at his ability to pitch with like inherited runners on base, he has been very limiting in that aspect as well. I've been happy with everything that Tony Santillan has put out there. Got that great T-shirt from Cincy Shirt. I was going to wear it today, but it's in the laundry, so that's not going to happen. But I've loved everything that Tony Santillan's been doing this year.
Yeah, I agree with you completely that he's earned the right to kind of ascend to that role. I think the other questions and what Nick Krall will do are going to be based on a couple things. Is Graham Ashcraft back this year, and can he show something? Can he show that he can be the new Tony Santillan? Can he be the eighth inning guy? Can Zach Maxwell continue to develop and maybe press for the eighth inning role or be a seventh inning guy? What I think is likely from Nick Krall in the offseason, Jeff, is to repeat what they did with Emilio Pagan. Go and find a guy that maybe closed at one point in time along the way, that hasn't done it in a few years, but has shown some potential. And you bring that guy in to be your new eighth inning guy. Now you've got Ashcraft and Maxwell as your seventh inning interchangeable parts. You've got this new guy for the eighth. You've got Santillan for the ninth. And that's a pretty good cluster of back end of the bullpen arms. And then you've got your B group, the B group that we keep talking about, the holdovers that you keep around, plus maybe anybody else new that you bring in. But for a big splash, a big save closer guy arm, yeah, they're not going to go get that guy. They're going to go look for a project.
I wonder too, and I don't know that he pushes him out of the closer role, but I wonder if the Reds bring back Scott Barlow, because I would be in favor of that. They got him on a $2.5 million deal this year, and he's had a pretty good season. So I think that they could probably bring him back and give you some bullpen depth. That's likely going to be the play for Nick Krall. I think there's a secondary question on top of all of this, is that based on our expectation and what the mantra that we are going to set forth for the Reds offseason is, the Reds need to answer questions. I don't know, and I got to see who's available. I don't know that I feel super strongly that Tony Santillan is an absolute answer to the question at closer. Based on this year, I would love to say yes, but I don't think he's been given enough of like the save opportunities in the ninth inning spots. As anyone will tell you, like, analytics people will absolutely deny that this has any power. And Jeff Brantley and guys who have done the thing will tell you that they're dead wrong, and the ninth inning is just different, and you need a ninth inning guy. And so that's the part of me that gives pause to saying that I would be happy if the Reds just rolled into next year knowing that Tony Santillan is the guy.
I think he's the guy if you look around the room right now. And then the question is, do they go get somebody else? I don't think they do. I think, again, they follow the Emilio Pagan rule or role and try and find somebody that maybe they get lucky. You look at that ninth inning stuff. You look at what Santillan's done. I don't think Barlow challenges for that role, but I'm with you. I would not mind at all if they brought him back and kept him around, because he's been really, really valuable. The Reds find themselves in an interesting spot, Jeff, because when we were ready to kind of talk about the 0.5% playoff chances and really kind of call it, we were saying, okay, play the young guys, see what you got, figure out who can do what. Well, now it's a little bit of a different story, because now you're trying to win games. Now you have a legitimate shot to get this final wildcard spot. So the amount of experimentation you can do, I think, is greatly reduced now. Add to that, Chase Burns is coming back into this bullpen. We hear from the Reds. He's going to be activated Friday. So as you're watching this Thursday, Friday, Chase Burns is to be activated. He's going into the bullpen on a modified role. They're going to be really careful with him, but they are going to use him out of the pen. That takes away some opportunities to experiment. Graham Ashcraft may or may not make it back before the end of the season. That will change the amount of available opportunities and the amount you can experiment. So I think Francona is switching into his September, October mindset, where it's about the individual game. It's about winning this game right now in front of me with the best player that I have available, not necessarily trying to try out guys in new positions.
I don't know that changes things, though. I think that he is figuring out that Sal Stewart's one of the best options he has in the lineup. And I think that he should know by this point, there is a measure of trust you can give to Zach Maxwell and Connor Phillips. And I think there will be some measure of trust you can give to Chase Burns. What's likely to happen, they said there's a modified plan, which I don't think that means we're seeing Chase Burns on back-to-back days.
Nope.
And I also don't think we're seeing Chase Burns for just 3 outs. I think he's coming in for 2 innings at least.
Yep.
And God forbid there's a game where he has to come in and bail out a starter and he throws 3 or 4 innings. But the Reds have that option now. And with Chase Burns, I think that has a strategic advantage.
Are you describing like maybe designated piggyback day where he's just going to be the guy that comes today? He's pitching today, and it's going to be at least 2 innings whenever this starter goes out. Like that kind of a role?
I could see that. I don't necessarily know that means Friday because Brady Singer has shown the ability to go deeper into the ball game. So I don't think that that's something that they're looking at and saying we're going to lessen the number of innings that Singer's going to pitch based on the fact that we have Chase Burns available for this. And we'll talk about the probable starters here in just a minute, but I kind of like this. And I also like this from a personal standpoint because we talked about how in college he was sure to transfer from Tennessee to Wake Forest because Tennessee wanted to pitch him more out of the bullpen and he didn't want to do that. He wanted to be a starter. This shows to me his ability to be like, look, whatever the Reds need me to do to win ball games, I will do that. And I think that this is temporary. He'll be back in the rotation next year. This is just getting him the innings while also making sure that he is an asset to the team for the rest of the year.
Well, and him coming out of the bullpen in the postseason would be fun.
A lot of fun, especially if you're talking about if he's following up like Lodolo and the breaker. And, Lodolo's got a nice fastball, but he throws from the left side. And then here comes Chase Burns throwing 102. That's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, Jeff. Well, let's talk about the Sacramento A's. I love that. You and I have both kind of secretly hoped that the A's would be a playoff team and that Manfred would have to schedule playoff baseball in Sacramento. Doesn't look like that's going to happen, but this is a playoff series.
Steve, we're not allowed to say Sacramento. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There's so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you need to give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people, including myself. Look, I got some bad genes when it comes to hair loss, and I'm combating that with Nutrafol. And it's not just hype. This supplement is clinically tested and targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. And you can feel good about knowing that Nutrafol is NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On Reds listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app. We're on every single one of them out there. Go check us out today. And hey, when you're done with making Locked On Reds your first listen today, make your second listen Locked On MLB Game Night. They got every game, every night. And until the World Series champion is crowned, they're going to be with you every single night. You get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, Steve, playoff series number 2. I mean, I guess really the Reds have been like playing some playoff baseball here for a little while at this point, but we really are into crunch time where losses, one more loss is just that much more of a setback. And so this is playoff series number 2 for me here in Sacramento against the A's. And the Reds are really set up well in this. And I say that, knock on wood, I got all the fingers crossed, trying to stave off all of the jinxes and all that stuff. But on paper, the Reds should definitely win 2 out of 3 here.
Yeah, it's terrifying because it all lines up in the Reds' favor, and we know how that normally goes. And by the way, I loved your little Harry Doyle hat tip there at the end of the last segment for those that caught it. Listen, Jeff, you're absolutely right. They cannot afford to lose any more series along the way. You look at how they match up with the A's in this series. Hunter Green and Lodolo both going in this series. Brady Singer starting it off. I really like the pitching matchups in this series. I like the ability of all three of those pitchers to go deep in games, keep pressure off of the Reds bullpen, and really allow the Reds to kind of do a thing here. Now, look, I say all the time, I hate to call for a team to get a sweep because sweeps are hard. They're especially hard on the road, and they're especially hard in the middle of a long road trip on the West Coast. But you look at all three of these games, these are all three very winnable games for the Cincinnati Reds. The way that the lineup has been hitting right now, the way that these pitchers should perform against this Oakland lineup. Oakland, I did it. See, I got to put a dollar in the jar. Against this A's lineup. This really does favor the Reds in this series.
The lineup's going to be tough because the lineup's got power. I mean, it's all up and down that lineup. It's not consistent. It's not the kind of like long at bat, tough out type guys, but it's the guys that if you make a mistake, they're going to make you pay. Nick Kurtz, my gosh, like it's hard to say because I love Chase Burns, but I mean, Chase Burns or Nick Kurtz, like it's a tough comparison, I think, for their careers. And it's made even harder by the fact it's a pitcher versus a position player, but Nick Kurtz was there for the Reds to pick in the draft last year. And he is one of the best first basemen in baseball, at least when it comes to with the bat and the power. He would lead the Reds handedly in power right now, and he'd be their cleanup hitter. So that's a tough thing right now. I think it's going to be an offseason discussion that we have. And I'd like to have Booney on to see if he had the choice between the two, who he would pick. Which, by the way, Booney, our friend over at Locked On A's, will have you cover from the A's perspective on this series. But I think that this is going to be very interesting for this Reds pitching staff, especially when you look at Brady Singer on Friday night. Brady Singer, Steve, I don't know if you know this or not, he's had a nice little bit of a stretch right here. He's got 5 straight quality starts. And in fact, of his last 8 starts, 7 of them are quality starts. He just has the one bad one there back when they faced Pittsburgh and they lost 7-0 in that game. He gave up 4 runs in just 3 2/3, but he's been really good here recently. As the season's gone along, dude has rose to the occasion.
Yeah, not a bad number 3 starter at all. 3-4 guy is where he profiles. When he came over here, we thought if he could just be a nice middle of the road third guy in the rotation guy, we'd be really, really happy. And there's been several stretches throughout this year where he's exceeded that. He's been better, definitely, than a 4th guy in your rotation. And he's been a high 3 guy in your rotation for a lot of this season. And he just needs to continue that streak. The run that he's been on just needs to continue. He does that, the Reds are primed to win the first game of the series, which I really would like to see them go out and do, set the tone, win the first game, because that third game of the series, I know Lodolo's going in that game, but it's going to be September in Sacramento, a daytime getaway day. It's going to be miserable pitching conditions. It's going to be hot. It's going to be uncomfortable. I would love for the Reds to just win the first 2 games of this series and nail it down.
And I don't think you get this as much in baseball as you get in like football or even basketball, but there might be a little look ahead with this because this is the final series of the season that doesn't involve an NL Central opponent. The Reds face division opponents the rest of the year after this. It's St. Louis, it's Chicago, it's Pittsburgh, and it's Milwaukee. So there's probably a part of like their brain that is saying, you know what, whatever, this is fine. We got some guys we really want to beat coming up here next. You got to beat the team today. And I think that they've got the right manager for that. That's the one part that as much as we want to begrudge different decisions that Terry Francona makes throughout the season, we know for a fact he's got this team focused on today, because if whoever's talking to him, they will try to sneak in a question about, man, you guys got a tough stretch coming up, or you're going here next, or this is what you're looking at right now in the wild card race. He's just like, I don't care about that. I care about kicking the ass of the opponent across the field today. Who are we playing today? And hopefully they focus on that these next 3 days, because they should win 2 out of 3. I really don't want to say that they should get a sweep, but looking at this,
it's just right there, right? You look at it, it's just like
Yeah,
They
like
should
there's
win all
nobody
3
on this
games.
pitching staff I'm worried about for the A's, and that's the hard part, right? The lineup just hasn't been going. Padres pitching was really shutting them down these last 3 days. It's just Reds pitching was even better than Padres pitching. So now can the lineup step up? That's going to be where we're really putting the pressure on this Reds team this weekend, because none of these guys in this A's pitching staff really scream like, oh boy, you got to watch out for that guy.
So as you're watching this, folks, it is Thursday, Friday, wonky time to be in your feed with the Reds on the West Coast. Here's what's going to happen. We've got a special Saturday episode for you coming this weekend because the Reds are on the West Coast. We want to get you the up-to-the-date information. So this is the Thursday, Friday show. No new show until Saturday morning. We'll be back in your feeds breaking down the first game of this Sacramento A's series. Hopefully, we're talking about a Brady Singer win, a Cincinnati Reds win, and that is where we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. Thanks, as always, for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. Make sure you go check out the Locked On MLB feed for your second listen. Not only are you going to get Sully over there with his national perspective, his humor, fun guy to listen to, and he talks about the Reds fair bit. So you're going to get some good Reds information along the way as well. Also, they've got MLB Game Night in that same feed where they're watching every single game every single night so that you don't have to, but you can stay up to date on all of the happenings in Major League Baseball. We'll be back in your feed Saturday morning. We're going to gather up the news, the notes, the information, the rumors, and the reports to keep you locked on Reds every single day.
Sacramento.
I love it. Manfred is so pissed right now.
You think Chris Webber's going to be there to call a timeout?